Okay, today is the 27th of May and I've decided to upload my very first plot tour exactly a year after I took on the two plots. So I'll start at the beginning of the first plot and walk all the way down, and I'll show you what it looked like before I got it. So this is the start at the front, my compost pile that I think that's number 5. There's 3 ton loads at a time. That's number 5. That's all that's left. I'll need at least one more. All sorts of bits and pieces in that ton sack over there is my sort of compost heap that I started last year. That's got a ways to go to break down, some spare lumber, bits and pieces, and a planter, an L-shaped planter on its side that has seen better days. We then go around to the shed with my huge solar panel on top. That came as a result of an eBay bargain. Down the front here we've got all sorts of bits and pieces. There's a spare asparagus crown that I just threw in that pot and it's come up, which is nice. The start of some parsnips which haven't really taken very well, and a bucket of carrots. All sorts of bits and pieces. I've got some chain link that I intend to use but haven't got around to using yet. First couple of beds are mostly shallots. There's a couple of leeks and there's a few onions in there, especially down this side, but that's mostly shallots in that bed. That bed over here is mostly onions, with again a couple of leeks and a couple of shallots all interspersed between it. These are my first sets. That set back there is mostly red onions, and they are taking it in turns to go to seed, so we're rapidly eating as many of those as we can, because every time you see one of those little flower stalks, it has to come out. This bed here is mostly white onions on this side and garlic in the middle and towards that side. Some later planted garlic that side, more recently planted there, and interspersed between, in and amongst the weeds, are the white onions. Not very long left on those, so those will come out soon and that bed will be weeded. These 3 that I've seen so far haven't actually been amended. I grew stuff in them last year. Tomatoes, sweet corn, and butternut squash in this one. And I just replanted the onions in there with no additional amendments, no compost. So these need to be, when these are cleared in a few weeks' time, they're going to be properly cleared. So they'll be completely weeded. They'll be amended with compost from the pile, and then they will be prepped for some winter. Probably brassicas, I would have thought, so I'll try and put some calabrese or something in there. This bed here is my later planted onions. These are the ones that I'm expecting to harvest in about September time. These should see me over the winter period. As you see, they're again from sets, reds and whites. Reds predominantly that side, whites predominantly that side. Very closely planted. I don't want gigantic bulbs, I just want average sized bulbs to eat. And we've got 3 brassica beds. My broccoli, that has completely bolted and gone to seed. I'm going to rip that out this week and replant it. In this one we've got a few collies, some red cabbage and sprouts for Christmas dinner. That top is coming off this week and I'm going to put a higher top on it, ready for as it's grown. And this one over here is cabbages. As you can see, they are starting to come on quite nicely. Again, this is going to have a new top on it this week. We've then got a salad bed. So we've got beetroot down here, a few second plantings of spring onions down there, then rocket, lots of rocket, a few more beetroot, not rocket, spinach even. Spinach, I'm hoping to get a cropping of spinach off before they bolt and go to seed, so I'll try that. There's a few lettuces down the end there, and a row of radish. There's supposed to be a row of carrots, but they simply haven't come up. I'm going to bring pelleted seed down and put that in, because that should be better. This is my lettuce bed. First 3 or 4 rows are mainly ones that I've put in a while back. The others I only put in yesterday, which is why they look all floppy and horrible. Filling in a few gaps in between as well, from ones that I'd grown in as clumps. So hopefully a couple of weeks and they'll be up and looking rather more vigorous. Over here we have my second batch of peas. starting to climb. I always grow aldermans, so they're climbing pace, 6 foot plus. Got quite a few flowers on there. A couple prepped for borlottis and a French climbing bean of some description. And we have some permanent fruit beds, so raspberries. My canes have been, you know, I bought a lot of canes this year. Some of them will work great, others really haven't fired. I mean, maybe half the canes have really properly fired in some way, shape or form. So I'm going to have to dig out a few of those and rebuild that bed, I think, at the end of the season, once I know what's actually properly working and what isn't. We've got strawberry beds, 3 of them. Again, whilst I'm... First bit of colour there. Whilst I'm down changing the brassica tunnels for hoops, I'm going to put some hoops over these 3 to stop the birds, because they're a nightmare on this site, and they will have everything that you put in there. This was my asparagus bed that just became a weed run, and I lost all hope with until about a week ago, when I discovered that actually I do have a few asparagus spears 2 days after I had ordered 20 new crowns. So again, I'm gonna largely dig over this bed this week. Where the crowns that haven't fired are, I'm going to put into replacements, and if I've got any spares, I'll bucket them for now and maybe make another bed later on. This is the Hugh's Veg-in-One bed slash Liz's Grow a Gift mashup bed, and as you can see, it's starting to come along quite nicely. The 2 types of broad beans, potatoes have come through, radish are almost ready for harvest, and I've popped some kale in. I've got to put some I've got some chard started, and I've got to put some runner beans that I've got in the polytunnel. I'll show you in a minute in there. First to the tomato beds. I only put these in yesterday, so they've literally only just been transplanted, some looking a little sorrier for themselves than others, but that's the start of them. Mostly these are cordon types, Moneymaker, Gardener's Delight, and on this side we've got Sweet Million, which is why you've got chicken wire fencing. That's good. I've got some more that I need to put to the top, so just there, because they tend to climb. They're more, although they're all vining, this one's more like a true vine and will go up. And it's why I've got these extended poles, because that bed there, once I've finished filling it, will also be tomatoes, and that will do exactly the same thing and meet in the middle, so the Sweet Millions can climb up and over the top. This is the other one. Some of these haven't done very well. I only put them in the day before yesterday, I think, these ones. Some have done well, some haven't. I'm going to have to replace a few of those, which is fine because I've got spares. These are the ones, the leggy ones that have been on my windowsill growing for God knows how long, far too long, and got huge. Oh, coming back to this bed which I've missed. That is weeds. That was celery. Not a single one has survived transplanting on the celery, which I'm a bit annoyed about, so I shall probably go and buy some starts and try that again. And these are celeriac. Kale, been largely munched by the pigeons. There's a couple of survivors, and that's about it. This section will be ridge cucumbers that I'm going to grow up, and again, one of the reasons why I've got these extending poles is that I'll put these down and I'll have a couple of scramble ladders for it to go up and over, because these ones will get to about 6 feet. I'll pinch them out, so that you should have some canopies, and again, extended poles which will extend all the way across to the other set of tomatoes. These will be standard types all the way through, and I'm going to probably plant around the base of each of these poles, like around here, some French beans to come up and across over the other side as well, so you'll end up with a bean arch, cucumber arch and tomato arch built into these beds. Few of my extremely leggy, they've all fallen over in the wind. One's waiting to go in. I need to finish that tomato bed to put them in. I've got loads more up there as well, and I've got some more at home to come down. Poles waiting to go into the tomato bed, and then we have more beds, some of them too high. One of these ones I haven't finished assembling into 2 highs yet. There'll also be another 2 here before we go down, and then the plum trees. So looking down the first half of the plot, it's empty bed, empty bed, empty bed, empty bed, tomatoes, strawberries, brassicas, onions, and then tomatoes, veg in one bed, asparagus, salads, one of brassicas, and then garlic and onions, and then shallots, down to the one at the end, down to the shed at the end. That is going to primarily be my tool and storage shed for cardboard. It's got that huge great panel is attached to a really fantastic rig, and maybe next year or possibly the year after, what I'd like to do is use some of the power that thing can generate to do some auto watering, at least on the first sort of six rows of double beds, just to make life a little bit easier. Then we move on to the back plot. This is my partially constructed or reconstructed shed that was given to me by a friend who's a rubbish clearance person, and he picked it up as scrap, and it was a very strange shape to start with, and then somebody had decided to hack it in half with a chainsaw, and I am effectively putting it back together into a reasonable shed. That's going to be windows on that side, which I've got glass for. That will be panelled, and then it'll be a single door. Roof will be a sloping roof, as and when I can get round to doing that. And then this is all going to be wood chip, and I've got like a little picnic table to go out here, so we've got somewhere to sit and enjoy the sunshine. And then we go on to my permanent fruit. This will be black plastic. So I'll put some compost on it, black plastic, and then I'll plant through it, and that's going to be like a little mound, just to have something pretty in the plot. This is my rhubarb. All transplants from this year. Not going to touch anything apart from some weeding. You may have noticed that with all the rain, weeding has gone ballistic, mainly because I've been focusing on the big jobs rather than the weeding. The weeds aren't going to choke these guys out in that sort of small frame of time. In a couple of weeks, once I've got some more of the bigger jobs done, then I'll get round and I'll properly weed everything. Let me go into the rest of my permanent fruit. This will be the start of the fruit cage. I've started to sort of put things in just to show me where they are. These are 4 cherry trees, all on colt dwarf stock. They will be clipped to be no more than 6 feet, because the plan is for the fruit cage to be 8 feet in total. Then we've got gooseberries. I think there was 12 of those. 12 of most things, to be honest. Again, buried in weeds that need clearing out. And then we have another 12 blueberries. Again, in desperate need of weeding. We've got one that doesn't seem to have made it. I've got a couple of spares in the polytunnel, which I'll show you in a minute, and that's par for the course. In this section here will be black plastic predominantly. There'll be a little section up here, which there is a little project ongoing, which I'm not going to tell you about now, but I'll explain to you later. That's when we start to get some results. That's what it is. This has been clipped short, and all that happened when we had the nice hot days, I've poured a load of white vinegar on it, and it's killed most things. You can still see some grass coming through, but I'm still going to put black plastic down and plant through for at least this season. This section here is where I want the new polytunnel to go. I'm going to get a big industrial polytunnel, biggest I'm allowed on the site, and put that there. These are my incredibly weedy potato trenches. I was a bit foolish, whereas I scalped this rather than clipping it short and using the vinegar as a weed killer, effectively a natural weed killer. I just scalped it, and of course it's got weeds growing up through the sides and from underneath, and it's just a nightmare. So I'm going to ignore it. These 3, I'm hoping that the potatoes will shade out some of the worst of it, and then once the potatoes are out and done, then I will dig the whole thing over, cover it in black plastic, and leave it until next spring to try and kill off as many as possible. Then I'll dig it out Although I'm trying to go no dig, this is going to require digging. There's no question in my mind that that's the case. That's just a ton sack with cardboard in it, some canes. My early peas that I started in the polytunnel. These got pods on. I mean, some of them are pretty close to being. I'll show you that one. Pretty close to being ready. You know, probably say another day or two on that one. And there's quite a few around the back. This one started at the same time, just didn't cope with it. I will empty this out and plant something else here. I just don't know what. My February potatoes that I planted in February in pots inside the polytunnel are all starting to do good guns. Particularly pleased with the Sarpos main crops. I wasn't expecting them to do as well as they have. Very disappointed in the Swift, which are the first earlies. They just are nowhere near the size and vigour of either the main crops or the second earlies. These are 5 of Charlotte and 5 of Carlingford. As you can see, I'm starting to get flowers on some of these, so they should be out in, I don't know, 10 weeks, something like that. You know, I'm going to leave the second earlies for as long as I can, basically until the foliage dies, just because I don't need those pots at the moment and won't need them until at least August, so I'll leave them a bit longer. Then we're going to go into the polytunnel. I'm afraid it's a disaster zone in here because I've just shoved everything everywhere. That's what it looks like. All loads of rubbish on the floor in the walkway. This side we have, that lettuce was planted in May of last year. That's a year old and it's just bolting. I've left it there as a bit of a study in how things will survive if you leave them. Loads of spring onions. We've been eating these for a month and I'm barely making a dent in them. You know, that's it's done okay. Most of these tomatoes struggled. They were hit by the frost and they were literally stumps. That's all that was left, was dead, what looked like dead stumps. All I've done was clip off the leaves and allow the first sort of lateral to come up and look at them. You know, I considered buying new ones from the store, go to the garden centre and buy new ones, but the time it takes to get the roots firmly down and the benefit of having that stronger rootstock for me outweighed the check that I was going to get in terms of time. I mean, these had been in for 5 or 6 weeks at that point and a really well developed root structure at the time when they got checked. So apart from like a weedy one there, I mean, look at these ones, they've absolutely flown away. Cucumbers had the same. I've had a couple of really bad ones that have been checked really badly. I will probably replace the ones that have been most damaged with grafted ones that I'm going to buy. Ignore the nettles. I didn't bring my gloves, so I wasn't about to start pulling those out, but normally weeding is a daily task, a bit like taking off the laterals from these guys. I mean, they've shot up. This is the growth in 2.5 weeks from that node there, since we had it checked, which is phenomenal, really. Just look at the growth on them. That one's the only one that didn't get checked. As you can see, it's got plenty of, I think it was just close enough to the tables, and the tables provided more radiant heat or something of that nature. In that corner we've got Son of Phil, where the black plastic is going to go. So down the other end of the polytunnel, down there towards where the fruit cage is, where the black plastic is, these guys are going to go out, interspersed with some of these butternut squashes from my own home safe seed. Who knows, maybe I'll get a gigantic butternut hybrid. These are Crimson Crush and Crimson Blush, and they were blooming expensive grafted ones that I was very annoyed when they got knocked on the head by the frost, so I've let them go. They haven't done anywhere near as well as the others because of course they haven't got an established rootstock to go to, but I thought I'm going to wait it out, wait till they get to this sort of stage, and I will put them out in one of the tomato beds planted very, very deep indeed. I'm going to plant them sort of that sort of depth, so you've got very little up the top, and see if they can recover. A couple of sunflowers for Nick's Sunflower Challenge. We've got these are all melons that didn't make it. I mean, that one could make it, but too checked now really. I've got loads of melons at home. So these are a couple of golden courgettes. They're going to get a whole bed to themselves. These are massively overdue red cabbages that need to go out. I'm going to find a space for them because they've survived in this polytunnel against all odds. Everything that I've thrown at it, all the frosts, all the neglect, because they've just been shoved up on a side, unkillable. So I'm going to actually put them in. I don't know where yet. Possibly when I take out some of the broccoli, I'll shove them in there. And we'll just see how they do. I've then got a couple of bush tomatoes there and one here that was a bit thirsty. That was on the side until about half an hour ago when I shoved it in this and put some water in there. These were a gift from my brother. They're bushing type. I can't remember what they are. Got another courgette there. A couple of tomatoes that survived. There's some cucumber plants down there that are in the most minuscule of cell trays that really should have been potted on, but I didn't have space for them. They were my backups. Around here we've got courgette. I think we've got a couple of, that's watermelon. So that's watermelon. Yeah, that's a watermelon. I think one of these is a watermelon as well. Oh yeah, blueberry, spares. It's my grapevine, which has to go in. I've got to put that in again this week. Some marigolds just coming on nicely. This is 4 Hugh's veg in one bed. Some chives at the back and some runner beans. Again, these got nipped by the frost, but they've come back phenomenally. So they're going out this week. Some more tomatoes. As you can see, some of them look absolutely dead, and that's what they all look like. But they've come back brilliantly. Bit of sweet corn. Some more tomatoes. And here we've got borlottis. Again, home safe seed. Waiting to go out in those beds, and some cranberries, gift from my brother again. For those of you that don't know, I'm running a potato trial, planting 20 of each, first early, second earlies and main crops of varying types on the 1st of February, 1st of April, 1st of June and 1st of August. I've got my June and August ones. My June ones are chitting, my August ones are still in the fridge, remaining dormant because I bought them nice and early, so they have not exited dormancy, thankfully. But these are ones that I bought. They were down to 50p a bag when I bought them from the local garden centre. They were pennies, and these are all the spares. So I'm just going to throw those in the ground. I'm going to dig some more mounds and mound those up later in the week, and just, quite a few there, varying types. So potatoes are potatoes. This is the second long bed. Need to finish filling those because all of my melons, which are all at home, and I've got varieties. I've got cantaloupes, I've got dahlias, I've got mini personal watermelons, I've got full-size melons, just to see what can grow. And I've got some peppers to go in front, and then if I've got any spare tomatoes, they'll go in the front as well. So yeah, and that's that. I'll just show you down the very back, and I'm starting to barrow some chippings up to cover this weed proof. I've got 3 barrels. These will be tacked together to form part of my auto watering system, all the parts of which I have ordered, and I'll show you as and when I get it all the parts here, and then I'll show you. I'll put my big camera up on a tripod, and I'll do time lapse of me actually assembling everything and getting it into the polytunnel. And then my Bossman's very, very basic compost heap. That's just grass in there at the moment. All it is literally is a ton sack with 4 canes holding the corners apart, but it works. I've got some shredded paper to come in and chuck it in there. That's just grass, and mix it up, give it a good water, or wait for the rain to do its job, and that'll be that done. And if I show you the back half of the plot down to the tree there, you've got the shed, that little mound wall, rhubarb, cherries, gooseberries, and blueberries. Then this section here It's going to be black plastic, and that's where I'm going to put the squashes and the plant the corn as well through the black plastic, and potato mounds for the rest of it. Yeah, and then the polytunnel. And just by comparison, this plot next to me, this is what it looked like a year ago, front to back. These back plots and my plot had been turned into a kind of like a car park, massively compacted, which is why everything you'll see is raised above ground level, because the soil is appalling in the front one, because they've just put gravel and wood chips and stuff on it. So I put wood reproof. There's no point in trying to grow anything through it. And then this back plot here haven't been worked in 15 years, and it's just a tangled mess of weeds. Trying to grow organically on that was just impossible, hence why I'm growing through black plastic again. Just cut it down short. You know, I'm expecting that this plot front and back is going to have a weed problem for the next 5 or even 10 years. But that's the nature of the beast when you're starting with something like this. Eventually you will get it cleared, but it will take many years and lots of weeding and lots of hard graft, but every year it will get easier, and I'm comfortable with that, you know. At the end of the day, you can't expect to start with weeds that are, well, that's probably 4 foot. And get everything done in 1 year. At the moment, I'm afraid the shed here, I've got a sink and a battery and a solar system to go on that as well, with a little hippo from a caravan. So you press the tap button and the water comes out. I've got a big gas cooker to go in there and a gas bottle. It would be lovely, but that is not a high priority at the moment. My priority is getting beds and land to get all of my plants in, so that I actually get a crop this year. That rhubarb is looking fantastic. Most of these actually came as splits from my main ones at home. I've got 3 very large ones at home, so probably half of those are splits, and the others were ordered from Amazon, and I paid peanuts for them. So I've got, I think, I've got early Timperley, which are my splits. I've got champagne, and I've got another one, I can't remember what it's called, here. Even down to a teeny tiny little offcut from one of mine. My youngest daughter's name is Freya, and this isn't rhubarb, this is frubarb, because we call her Fru as a nickname. So that's my youngest daughter. She's 5, so that will be her rhubarb, presuming I can get it to live and grow big enough to actually harvest from. Yeah, and then these beasts need a darn good trim at the end of the year. I did a light trim of the lower branches, just taking some of it back, but they need some of the height taking out of these plum trees, which will happen in the autumn, probably about September, as soon as the fruit has dropped, really, but before they've gone dormant. I don't want fungal infections getting in, so I'll do that at that point. So yeah, these are my plots. Still very much a work in progress, but a year and a lot of effort should give me a decent amount of consumables. I will see you in the next one.